Grace and peace to you as we begin this Advent journey. And a wonderful fellow by the name of Reggie McNeil talks about how we in the church have lost. The first thing we lost were weddings. I know over my 20-some, almost 30 years now, I've probably had 3 or 4 wedding services that were actually a worship service. Most of them are something entirely different. I have listened to quartets do doo-wop. And there comes a point where you just throw in the towel. You throw your hands up and you say, well, whatever you want. But Advent is something else that we have lost. I'm curious if there are any of you today here who grew up in households where you were forbidden from putting up any Christmas decorations, forbidden from singing any Christmas songs, doing anything until December 24th. That's what I thought. Advent is a time of anticipation, a time of preparation, a time of waiting. But we're not waiting for the babe of Bethlehem to be born. We are waiting for Christ's return. The ancient promise of the church, confessed across all of the centuries in our creed, is that Christ will come again to judge the living and the dead. And so Advent is a time when we are intentional in focusing on not Christmas, but Christ's return. And that's why for today we find this reading from Mark's Gospel. He writes, "From the fig tree learn its lesson. As soon as its branches become tender and put forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also when you see these things taking place, you know that he is near at the very gates. Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But about that day or that hour no one knows, neither the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. Beware, keep alert, for you do not know when the time will come. It is like a man going on a journey, when he leaves his house and puts his slaves in charge, each with his work, commanding the doorkeeper to be on the watch. Therefore keep awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come, in the evening or at midnight or at the dawn, or else he may find you asleep when he comes. And what I say to you, I say to all, keep awake." This is a time of discerning the time, of awaiting that marvelous fulfillment of the promise of Christ, when Christ will come again, when Christ will establish his presence with his people. He shall be our God and we shall be his people. He will sit upon the throne, and out of that throne will flow the river of life. Nourishing the tree of life, its leaves for the healing of our world. It's an incredible image. The healing of our world. Is there anything that we need more in this world than healing among nations, among peoples, in our families, even in our church? That is the promise of Advent. The promise of Christ's return. But it's hard. It's hard. Because everywhere we go, we see the signs of Christmas. You walk into a store and you see all of the Christmas stuff displayed, the trees and the outdoor ornaments and the lights. And each year it seems that the time frame of this moves up and up until now I start to see them at the end of August. And so it's almost impossible for us to stay focused in this moment and what we are about. Because as Matt so wonderfully said, unfortunately, it's easy to get caught up in what Christmas has become for all of us. It's become about consumption. A few weeks ago, I had the privilege of attending one of the annual seminars on what it means to be missional. Our church talks a lot about missional. And one of the presenters, a wonderful lady by the name of Terry Elton, equated consumerism to the water in a fish tank. She said it's all around us, but we hardly notice it. We tend to focus on the fish and the rocks and the greenery, and we seem to miss that which everything is immersed in. But it's all around us. If you're under the age of 34, you have been bombarded since your birth with commercials. But it's subtle. The next time you watch one, ask yourself, what exactly is it that they're selling? I was watching a football game the other day, and I discovered that if I don't drink Miller Lite, I can lose my man card. I didn't know I had a man card to lose. And Terry Elton goes on to share with us how much this has engulfed us. She said, it changes everything. It changes our social practices. It changes our relationships, our activities, our space, our work, our leisure. They are now all structured around the various practices related to consumption. But the problem is that it's made its way into our church. A wonderful Catholic theologian talked about the commodification of religion. If you take a look at our culture, the churches that are truly thriving are the ones who really understand this and buy into it. For a while in my life, I studied some of the great sort of preachers in our culture. I would watch how they preached. And there was one who was particularly good. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, he was probably about a 14. But what was amazing about his sermon is how he worked in commercial after commercial after commercial as he was proclaiming the gospel. He would talk about something and he would say, and we have developed a video that you can purchase. If you call the number right now on the bottom of the screen, we will rush this to you and it will answer all of your spiritual questions. And a little bit later he'd say, we have a book or a pamphlet we would love to send you. And then next week he would start all over again. There was a new pamphlet or a new book or a new video. See, that's the lie of consumerism. You can never truly be satisfied. It's always one more. if I had one more toy, if I had one more seminar, if I could buy one more book, then I would find this happiness, this spiritual fulfillment, which seems to utterly escape us all. But that's the lie. But what this commodification has done in a fundamental way is it's changed the very nature of what it means to be human. We have moved from subject to object. And as an object, we are only acted upon. That's all an object can be, is acted upon. And so we truly buy into the understanding that my happiness, my spiritual fulfillment, all of that is external to me. And as Terry Elton talks so beautifully about, what happens is that we then bring the shopping mentality into the church. And we tell ourselves, if I could just find a different service, or different music, or a different pastor, or a different church, then I would be fulfilled. But we were never created to be object. We were created to be subject. We were made in the image of God. Terry Elton ended this with saying, so where is the hope? Where is the hope? There's a young lady we know. She's a friend of my son. And she's a little odd. I found that most gifted people tend to be perceived as a little odd. And she is. She's a little odd. But she is also an incredible artist. We would watch her as she would do drawings downstairs in our house, and her drawings were so incredible. And I would look at them, and in a few minutes she could produce something that was so tiny and so incredibly unique. And so my wife asked her, we have a place above our couch which is just a big wall that's empty, and she said, could you make me a piece of art? Now I have to confess, I'm not much of an art connoisseur. In fact, I have a daughter who loves to go to museums, and I have another daughter who's on the same page as I am. And so we will go there and we will stand in front of a piece of art and we'll stare, because we were told that if you stare at it, it starts to speak to you. And so we sit there and we stare until my wife comes up, slaps us both on the back of the head. So the other day, this incredibly gifted young lady delivered this piece of artwork, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying to my wife, what exactly were the parameters you gave? And so she explained it to me. You see, one of the things that's unique about this young lady is that her hair is tied into those dreads. And she has all sorts of stuff hanging from them. And what she does is she says to her friends, give me something you cherish. And she puts it in her hair. That's what this picture is. It's a part of a face of a very young lady. Her hair is flowing across, and in her hair are tied all of the things my wife cherishes. Thanks for explaining that to me. Now, what's even more remarkable about this young lady is that she doesn't consider herself Christian. She doesn't even consider herself religious. She tries to tell me that she's a nature worshiper. And yet what's more amazing is that she has a better grasp of Christianity than I do. We take those things we cherish and we make them a part of ourselves. That's what we do, because that's what God did. God took the creation that God cherished and he made it a part of himself by sending his son. See, that's the scandal of Bethlehem. That's the scandal of Bethlehem. Bethlehem is an insult to any religious person, that a God would become human, become one of us. For God so loved the world, so cherished the world, that he made the world a part of himself. And now he's given us that task. Those things that we cherish in the world are to become a part of ourselves. Christ becomes a part of ourselves. People become a part of ourselves. That's what the ancient church fathers talked about. Because underneath this theme of "Behold, I make all things new" is being driven by an ontological question. And the ontological question is simply, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be human? And it's not "I consume, therefore I am." It's created in the image of God, therefore I am. A God who came down at Bethlehem and made you a part of himself. That's the hope of this season. That's the hope for all of us. That God so cherished the world, that God made this world a part of himself. Amen.
Speak.